and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. Here with you as always, Mr. Aaron James, Mr. Jason Kent. I'm Mr. Jason Kent. This is Mr. Aaron James. How are you feeling today, sir?
Feeling good, Jason. How you feeling today, man?
Better. You know, it was a rough weekend. A little under the weather. I don't think, definitely was not COVID. Took 3 of them tests. I just think just a cold. No fevers, but just the crap stuff. But 100% now. Football season's back. Fantasy draft starting. I know my fantasy draft's coming up on Labor Day. So I'm pretty excited. And that's my big league. Every year we have a set day, Labor Day. So it's 1:30 every year. Everyone knows Labor Day. So you don't plan anything. But with that coming up, I think there's a couple Cowboys this season that you might have to have ranked pretty high. So when you're looking at it, I think there's multiple. When you look at it this season, the Cowboys, you could do defense, offense. Who are your key players that you would target from the Cowboys this year, Mr. Aaron James?
Yeah, so I had my first draft already, and depending on which platform you're using, you should be seeing CeeDee Lamb up there in the top 5 range.
Really?
Yes.
That's tough.
Top 5 pick for CeeDee, but is he going to be there week 1? I don't know. Hey, my first overall pick last year was a bust, and that was Austin Eckler.
Yeah, that's a tough one now.
So I think you can feel confident that CeeDee, whether he's in week 1 or week 4, whatever the case may be, I think that's a good pick. And if you just look at our turnovers that our defense is making, you can't ignore that. And of course, with Dak, I'm just concerned that he doesn't have that Pollard outlet or threat. So yeah, I think that's going to impact his numbers a little bit.
Yeah, I think CeeDee, once he shows up, he's wide receiver 1. Like you lock him in your lineup every week. Top 5's tough for me. Top 5, I look running back more. I guess maybe on the outer edge, but I'd rather go. I would think a Tyreek Hill, but listen, you might have to. Especially, I know in this area it's a little bit easier. They tend to lean Eagles more, so you can kind of wait a little bit longer. But I think CeeDee's probably going to be a second behind Hill, so you have to go after him. I really like Dak in terms of fantasy football. In terms of real life football, I had a discussion today. It was crazy. I was having a discussion with an Eagles fan, and he was defending Dak, and I'm ripping Dak out, woodshed. So it's crazy that Eagles fans are, defending Dak here. But I think in terms of fantasy, I think he's a guy that you could probably target as, the 5th, 6th, 7th quarterback. And I think he can probably put up QB1. He could be in that ranking because I still believe, like you said, I get the Pollard outlet. I think they're going to throw a lot more this season because I don't trust Zeke. I don't, it stinks. He may get some goal line touchdowns. You may be able to get him for like a touchdown vulture, but that's probably it. I still think Dak could throw for close to 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns.
Wow.
And then that's why I truly believe like CeeDee could be wide receiver 1 this year. I truly I think I predicted Dak 5,000 at some point, on our show this season. I really think they're going to have to throw a lot. And, it's Dak's contract year. You really have to think McCarthy him and Dak are going to be shoulder and shoulder this season. I think that's, if they both are if they're signing, I think it's got to be both of them. To me, I feel like they're a package deal at this point. So he's going to kill it. So I think he's going to throw a lot. So I think it's going to be very good. And I think you have to look at the defense. I'm a little nervous with what Diggs gives you. But with what we saw with Bland last year, man, if Diggs can beat what he was, that defense is in. And it's a Zimmerman defense. So these guys, man, they're going to have opportunities. Don't put that. So I like, you figure Dallas quarterback, wide receiver 1. I think their defense needs to be ranked pretty high too. You're gonna have to overdraft all three of those, I think.
I think so. And you know what? The league I'm in was in a 10-team league, so it gets kind of tricky because there's still decent players out there, and you're like, man, I think I'm ready to switch to defense, or maybe I want to pick up Aubrey earlier because he's hitting 66-yard bombs.
See, because the league I'm in, I've always based every league after my draft strategy has been off of that. Because in that league, you have to carry 2 quarterbacks, you have to carry 4 receivers, 4 running backs. So you have to draft accordingly. So I've always gone best. I'm going to draft the best starters I can, and then worry about my bench. So in that league, I will overdraft a kicker, a guy at Brandon Aubrey, a Justin Tucker. I know people did overdraft the Cowboys defense last year in this league because of the interceptions. You expected the big plays to be there, and Micah Parsons. So, yeah, you got to, I think, overdraft some of those players once in a while when you're expecting big things. And it's nice when you draft Aubrey in the last round, like I did last year. That was my key pick. I got him in the last. He was a write-in. We got the boards. He had to be a write-in. That's how. Nobody even knew who he was. So it was. It worked out for me. I overdrafted Justin Tucker, and then he got on my bench for the last pick of the draft. So, but hey,
wow.
Everyone has their own strategy. I'm now a 6-time champion in that league. So, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I kind of know it. My strategy kind of works. But. No, go ahead.
And I won the championship in my big money league last year after coming in, falling short second the year before, and I believe I won the year before that first. And so
I won 2 years ago too. So we both we're just we're just a couple of champions here, bud. We're just a couple of champions.
No biggie.
But now switching from fantasy football to real football now. You brought up, I think, a very big move. Actually, a couple of very big moves, if you know what I'm saying. Dallas today, we have signed a couple of defensive tackles here. One in Linval Joseph and the other in Jordan Phillips. When you look at these two individuals, they are big boys, to say the least. Jordan Phillips is a 6'6", 330-pound defensive tackle. Linval Joseph, 6'4", 600 and no, I'm sorry, that's way too heavy. 330 pounds. So Aaron, when you think of a Mike Zimmer defense, to me, you think of those beefy boys in the middle. And then also when you look at the struggles Dallas has had, man, if I know last year, we lost it. We had some decent play, but now you're really clogging up those middle with two big boys. How do you like this signing? And you think that, man, this is perfect. Like, this is really what they need with the cornerbacks they have, and Micah coming off the edge, hopefully, as a lineman, stuff that gap.
So with Joseph, you have him reuniting with Zimmer, and then with Phillips, he's been on some pretty top defenses and has had some mentorship time with Ndamukong Suh. And when you think of Zimmer's defenses, just like as you mentioned, you can't help but think of, even the linebackers getting production because of what the big boys are doing. I'm thinking of Anthony Barr, and then the guy that we just recently picked up. I don't know why his name's blanking on me. But you're going to have also Overshown, hopefully getting some playing time, and he's looked really fast in the short clips that we've seen so far. And like you said, with our DBs going to work, I think he can be very creative. I think we can expect an exciting, blitz happy team this season. That's what I'm looking forward to, and I do think we will be able to clog some holes and keep teams from running on us much better than years past.
I agree. When I look at it, I think just even with the guys we have so far, I think you now can move some guys in and out with with OC and Mozzie. Now signing these two, I think it gives you a lot more flexibility, and I just think it helps with Micah and Lawrence on the ends. You're definitely going to get them more out on an island now, and a little bit easier for the pass rush. So I think you're going to see some advantages there as well. So I really think it's going to be a big deal. Um, I'm a little worried about the linebacking core. With Kendricks being, you're really going to have Kendricks and Damone Clark. You don't know. You got to hope somebody really steps up. So I'm a little nervous about the linebacking core, but we have safeties that can roll in and out. So I think you can probably roll some safeties up. I think you're going to see a lot more of a safety look. It's not really a Zimmer style, but you got to do what you got to do with this linebacking core. But I think they can shine a little bit if you get a guy like Overshawn flying around, and those big boys can really stuff up, and really hold them so that they can shoot those gaps. I think I know they're a little bit smaller but they're speedier, so they can fill those holes. So I kind of like what they're doing now at the defensive tackle position, where in the years you've really been worried about it.
Yeah, and these are vets. They're not top 5 or top 10 guys in the league, but they're vets that know their job. They're not out there with massive egos. They just want to kind of contribute and help bring others up. So I think that it's just a lot to look forward to. I'm definitely more excited about our defense today than I was going into the draft.
And I don't want to understate either the impact this can have on Mozzie. Like everyone's talking about how big of a year this is for Mozzie. Linval Joseph, I think, is a 14-year veteran in this league. He's been around for quite a long time. Yeah, he's been in the league since 2010. So he's been around and seen some things. So if you're going to have Mozzie, he may not have been the, most flashy, getting all the sacks, but he's been around. He's done his job. He's been on some very good run stuffing defenses. So if you're going to have Mozzie really learn from some guys, it's definitely these, 9-year veterans, 14-year veterans. I think it's a big deal now that you have them coming in to kind of mentor him too as well.
Yeah, it alleviates a lot of pressure that Mozzie has, for sure. And look, it's not, hopefully he's not taking it in a negative light where he's like, man, they don't trust me to do my job or this or that. It's just going to make us a lot more well-rounded, a lot more fresh legs, because we still got Odigizua coming off his best year, and in his contract year. So I just like the addition of players. Again, if health becomes an issue, we have depth now more than I feel like we've had in years past.
And I think just that depth is bigger because it is more of a faster paced league. So but you're going to need to rotate these guys in and out. So I think that is the big key as well, is just, like the depth, and you're rotating and you're going to stay fresh. You want those beefy boys to stay fresh. I think that was our biggest issue, is our red zone defense last year. You want to be able to make sure if this Dallas team can be a run team, or a run stopping team with how good their pass defense is already, it's just going to be next level, because they really have the guys that can get after the quarterback. They've shown with Bland, Diggs is a ball hawk. So you have Micah, we've seen what Tank can do. We just, I don't want to get too excited after what I remember the last game of last season.
Yeah,
but I think they're in a step in the right direction, at least for now, for this season, because Micah, CeeDee, Dak, you don't know, at least going forward.
Correct.
Now when you look at it, we're two games into this preseason. What is your number one takeaway been from the preseason so far?
My number one takeaway actually has been Mike Zimmer. I feel like he's just putting his defense. They look like a well-coached group. They have 5 picks And if you watch the Raiders game, there were a couple ducks out there that we should have grabbed as well,
Yes.
and a defensive touchdown. To me, it just looks like a well coached team, a little bit more physicality from the second group of linebackers than what I recall. And I don't know, man. It's just you just sense this scheme. I can just really sense it from what the short 2-game preview that we have so far, albeit with backups. I think the praise is on the defense. Offense, I'm scratching my head a little bit from what I'm seeing.
I'm with you. I really he was my number 2. I really do like what I've seen. You know, they look hungry, and you don't know. You wonder how much of it with this old regime guys. The players must have been there. All of these players, how much of it too? Like, man, did they really love Quinn as well? So now you got to really, you feel bad. So I know it's going to look good on Zimmer, but I agree with you. They're really looking good. They're flying around. And that's what you want to see. And they're really stepping up. The offense, that to me, my number one, that was my number one is the offense. And I think they're really giving Trey Lance every shot. And to me, I think I'm okay with what I've seen from Trey right now. And I really think I don't know if they're grooming him from the future, but I really believe what they're looking at right now, I think they may be looking at keeping him around because I see potential. I see potential where I didn't before. Do you feel that at all?
I think you can tell a couple things stand out to me with Trey. One, he's throwing the ball high. I don't know if it's excitement. I don't know if it's nerves, but you have that. It looks like he just hasn't had a lot of reps. So it's either that or maybe the chemistry with the group that's out there. Something is a little bit off, and it's not as crisp as you would like to see, given his length of experience and time in watching film. And I get it; it's not completely the same, but he looks a little bit out of rhythm out there. But his legs look amazing.
Yes.
I can give him that.
When I look at it, I feel the dude hasn't played a ton of football. Like when San Fran drafted him, I think it was a big head scratcher. And I think it was San Fran's head coach basically saying, I can do whatever I want and draft this quarterback who hasn't. I think he played like 200 snaps in like over a 3 or 4 year period when they drafted him. So I just think I think that's why I think they're playing him so much. They want to get him game rep. And I think that's why, because, you do want to see Cooper. I was shocked you haven't seen him more. And I think that's what they want to see what this kid is. I think he was a top 3 pick. He did have the potential out of college. A lot of people did compare him, and I know now it looks stupid, to like an early young Carson Wentz. So I think that's a young Carson Wentz. At the time, to me, I always thought he was better than Dak. I thought he could do much more. We saw how that played out.
Yeah.
But if the kid's got potential, it's not. I think it's a situation where he just needs the reps because it was there for a while. A lot of things happened with COVID and all that stuff. It really messed up a lot of those players. And he was at a smaller school, so it wasn't as big. But I think they're really giving this kid opportunity.
Yeah, they definitely want to see what he can do. And, Cooper Rush is a good backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's why they got to play it safe in a way that, okay, we got to see what we have here because he is going to enter free agency after this year. And depending on how the Dak situation plays out, not a whole lot of options around the league right now. The only other situation I can think of is Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Like one of them is going to become available.
And one of the other bigger things that I noticed is I felt like these first 2 games was a very good opportunity for one of these running backs to take a hold on maybe being the lead guy or at least the number 2 guy. And I really feel like Trey Lance has done most of the rushing. and nobody else. Like I was okay. You have Zeke. You kind of know what he is. Dallas. Somebody else take control. Somebody else step up. Somebody else be the guy. And you just haven't seen it yet, and it's very, very. It's worrisome at this point.
It is. It is worrisome. You sent me a ranking that we have the last rated RB room in the league. Was
Yeah.
that ESPN
Yeah.
that put that out? Man, that's quite
tough.
embarrassing. It's a tough pill to swallow. I think of our running back crew, Dowdle probably can take the biggest jump. You see a flash. You still see a little flash here and there with Vaughn, but what are we still doing with Malik Davis? I mean, I hate rooting. I want to root for everybody, but it just looks like the same thing since we kind of first saw him. Not a whole lot of burst or flashes. I mean, it's like, what are we trying to hang our cap on here with that one?
No, I 100% agree. It's very. You're worried because there is the issue. Can Dak? You don't want to see Dak get taken out a lot, and if you don't have a run game, and I'm very worried if Zeke has to be the guy for a long time, that they're just going to tee off and really go after Dak, and that could be a problem because, especially if CeeDee holds out for a while, you don't have outside of CeeDee, you don't have really great receivers, and we saw beginning of last year when he wasn't targeting CeeDee as much, the offense wasn't flowing like it did, in the second half. Really, yeah, the last 3 quarters of that season, they were really humming up until the Green Bay game.
Now, isn't Dalvin Cook still out there?
I thought he signed.
Okay,
I could be wrong, but like I wonder though, like how much does he really have left in the tank?
Sure.
Is he like that's my one worry. He is 29, so I just don't know. Like there was a few running backs out there, free agents this year that I really was kind of hoping they went after. Like I really would have loved Aaron Jones.
Yep.
So there's a few of them, but I think they missed on quite a few free agents. The Justin Simmons, I thought they should have won after. I thought that has been you solidify your safety. He's the guy. Gilmore was still out there. He goes to Minnesota. Like there's a few people that are just kind of upset Dallas wasn't, especially, I get you have to still pay these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But you also, to me, if you lose CeeDee, if you lose a couple of these guys, this could be your last chance at something big. So I thought it'd be better to go all in because we're kind of in a no-win situation right now. I feel like.
Yeah, and any one of those names you mentioned keeps us in the running, and even Derrick Henry in a big way.
That one, I would have loved, and I get Saquon, may have had Philly predetermined, but it'd have been nice to throw your name at least in the ring. It's tough, man. Dak, you don't know. You just don't. You don't know with any of these guys. When you look at it, when you look at it now, CeeDee's holding out, and you sent me, CeeDee could want 33 plus million, and the bad thing is, one, he's worth it. And not in terms of legitimately worth it, in terms of football money. And he's got every right. He's just shown he's really he's probably 1B. He's not my first choice, but he's probably 1B to Tyreek Hill. He could have better stats than this year. He could break the record. I think I said it. I really do believe Dak could throw for 5,000 yards and CeeDee Lamb could break the receiving record.
Wow.
It doesn't mean the success. I don't think it means it rolls into playoff success, but I just think that's the type of season they're going to have. It's going to be a big year. And I think a lot of people are going to take that as I believe in Dak. I think Dak's a very talented quarterback. I don't want him for playoff reasons. I think he's a great regular season quarterback. He could stuff those stat sheets.
Mm-hmm.
But do you how worried are you on a scale right now with the CeeDee situation? Because you kind of saw the banter. Jerry said we don't need CeeDee. Or, oh, we're not worried about it. You see CeeDee tweeting. So it looks very contentious from the outside. Then they tried to really kind of gloss it where Jerry comes out again. But, it's already out there. So it's looking kind of contentious. Are you worried about this at all?
Look, I think they're within already $2 million. So in the grand scheme of things, that's really close, and it doesn't really, what are you going to really do with $2 million? You're not really going to get an all-pro, player in another position for that. And then, so from a dollar perspective,
One second though. What's $2 million? You have to remember you also have Dak and Micah. It's not just it's Micah too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's tough. How much do they want to play together? I guess the money talks at the end of the day, but $2 million is a lot of money.
I think what CeeDee has working against him, if anything, right? He doesn't have the same. He had one amazing year. He didn't put up over 1,300 yards for each of his first 2 years. So he really, once he was given that opportunity, he took the most of it. And
I think you're looking for reasons not to pay him right now.
I think there's some hesitancy there.
But for what?
And which is why we were in this position.
I disagree. I look at the kid, he comes in his rookie year, you give the kid 88. And to me, I think that put the expectations at $1 million for this kid. You wanted him, you kind of hope he got to you. He finally does. And then you say, hey, Michael Irvin, Des Bryant, the greats, here you go. So now the pressure's on him. And you're kind of like, okay, you have Amari Cooper here. So, his rookie year, he comes in and still does 900 yards on 75 catches, 74. But then his second year, he comes 79 with 1,100 yards, 1,300 yards. His third year in 107 catches. And this year, 135 catches for 1,700 yards and 12 touchdowns. His touchdowns went 5, 6, 9, 12. To me, I can't squabble with this kid over money because he's 25 years old. You have to pay him. I can't squabble over what may happen super down the road. This kid's in the prime of his career and he's gotten better every year. I have no problem breaking this kid off because I think I can get another quarterback in here. It's not I'm not saying Trey Lance, but I think you could get a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback in here and do the same things Dak does. I think Dak's a little more easily replaceable than CeeDee Lamb is.
Okay, I think that those are fair points.
It's tough though, man.
Great points.
Because this is, I guess, where Dallas, the ownership is in big tough the decisions at this because you have literally, three. Dak's not. That's because Dak's not a Patrick Mahomes. But you can make a case certainly for Micah and Lamb as the best at their position. So it's not a good position to be in. I truly don't think we keep all of them. That's the sad thing.
It's a very sad thing.
Man. Well, what do we got coming up here, Mr. Aaron James? Who are the Cowboys playing this week? I have to check it out. What day do the Cowboys play this week? They're playing Saturday against the Chargers. They're not going to play any starters, right? We're not going to see anybody.
No, I don't think we're going to see anybody. I mean, we might see a lot of Trey Lance and Deuce Vaughn.
I'm a little worried about that. I'm worried about the offensive line with Dak because we do have to have 2 new starters on that offensive line. So that worries me a little bit. That when you're looking at the preseason, that's going to be my biggest worry going into the season. I get not a lot of teams play preseason anymore, but when you especially got a new center, I think that'll be something to watch out for early in the season.
Yeah, and what do you think of Tyler Guyton? Has he? he showed me he has the dog in him, man. That I will say that.
Yes, I've been impressed with what I've seen. He looks, he's a big boy. He does play. He plays tough, but you're still worried. I'm still worried about the offensive line. It's tough to replace a couple of starters, especially with you don't have, like you said, we don't have the run game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on that offensive line this season, and I don't know if they can hold up. What we've seen with drafting offensive linemen. They've hit the mark pretty much every time they've went high on offensive linemen. So you kind of assume the trend's going to continue that way. But I'm worried going to this. I'm worried going into the season with Dak with this fresh offensive line and no real game reps. That's my biggest. That's going to be my biggest worry going into the season and kind of takeaway so far from everything.
Yeah, looking back, we might have come week maybe 7 or 8. Hopefully, we're not saying, man, if we would have kept at least Biotish, we'd be in a more comfortable position, right?
Yeah, and it's when you look at it stinks because when you look at someone like the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, and I think we all laughed at that contract when he got it. He got paid early. He got paid definitely well before he should have. And it was an easier contract. And we saw the beginning really last year. If Dallas would have signed CeeDee Lamb last year, it would have been a lot cheaper. So there's a big issue there. And it's kind of the position they put themselves in. But I'm excited to see where it plays out. Listen, I'm excited for the season. I can't wait. We're not going to see Trey Lance in the regular season. I know I'm not going to allow myself to hop on the Dak train this year, but I'm excited for what I'm ready. I want to see it. I just want it to start. And, I even wore my Lamb jersey. I got to wear it today. I got to support my guy. We need to get him signed. We need to get him on the field. We need him out there. We need the guy. If this team's going to win this season, if this team's going to get anywhere, I think they made the moves. I think you got to be okay with your defense right now, and I really like what they're going to do. If you have Trey, if you have Micah and Lawrence on the outsides, I'm ready for this. You got to get CeeDee Lamb. You didn't get yourself a running back. You pushed it down the road. You brought in Zeke. Lamb really holds all the cards. With as much as Mr. Aaron James said he thinks he's not sold on him, I know Aaron is sold on him. He gave him to me last season. So I know Aaron sold on him too. CeeDee Lamb, if you're watching, Cowboys Takeover podcast. One, thank you. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. 2, sign the contract. Save some money for Micah. We can get rid of that. We can save it. We can keep that. That's just between me and you. Nobody else is listening. That's what we're doing. Thank you all to the listeners. Oh, we got some big news coming up down the road. Mr. Aaron James and myself have to work everything out. We got some big news. Kind of move in platforms a little bit. We'll still be here. We'll still be the Cowboys Takeover. We'll have that news for you down the road. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Love you all. We cannot wait for the season. We're so glad Mr. Aaron James back in California. We still do this show and still come out to you guys every week. We love you. Go Cowboys. Let's watch Saturday. Let's get